Welcome, listeners, to a journey into the shadows, where the veil between life and death is as thin as the mist that shrouds the forgotten corners of history. Today, we venture into the heart of darkness that beats within Waverly Hills Sanatorium, a place where hope and despair intermingle, and where the echoes of the past refuse to be silenced. Perched atop a lonely hill in Louisville, Kentucky, this imposing structure stands as a monument to the ravages of the White Plague, tuberculosis, which claimed countless lives in the early 20th century. But Waverly Hills is known for more than its battle against disease. As the sun sets and the light fades, this abandoned sanatorium awakens to a different kind of existence, one where the boundary between the living and the spectral dissolves. Whispered tales of ghostly apparitions, eerie sounds, and unexplained phenomena have permeated its decaying walls, making it a beacon for those who seek to understand what lies beyond. In this series, we will peel back the layers of time to uncover the stories of Waverly Hills Sanatorium. From its inception as a haven for the stricken, through the years of suffering and loss, to its abandonment and emergence as one of the most haunted places in America, we will explore the tales of those who once walked its halls, and those who are said to linger still. So, I invite you to dim the lights, steady your nerves, and join me as we step through the gates of Waverly Hills. Listen closely, for in the silence between our words, you might just hear the whispers of the past calling out. Welcome to the shadows of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, where every corridor holds a story, and every shadow, a mystery waiting to be unraveled. At the dawn of the 20th century, America found itself in the grip of an unseen enemy, a plague that swept through cities and countryside alike, leaving sorrow and despair in its wake. This adversary was tuberculosis, known as the White Plague, a disease as mysterious as it was merciless. It ravaged communities, sparing neither young nor old, rich nor poor, and it cast a shadow of fear across the nation. The air of the era was tinged with apprehension, as families were torn apart, and the sound of coughing became a harbinger of doom. Tuberculosis, a bacterial infection that primarily attacked the lungs, was a death sentence for many. Its symptoms both cruel and debilitating. The fight against this dread disease was hampered by a lack of understanding and effective treatments, leading to the creation of sanatoriums, institutions dedicated to the care of those afflicted. These sanatoriums were not just hospitals. They were places of isolation, where patients sought healing in the fresh air and tranquility away from the pollution of the industrializing cities. It was against this backdrop of fear and suffering that Waverly Hills Sanatorium was born. Envisioned as a beacon of hope, it rose from the secluded woodlands of Louisville, Kentucky, a fortress against the tide of disease. Constructed in 1910, Waverly Hills was designed to embody the latest in tuberculosis treatment and care. Its very architecture a testament to the optimism of the age. With its expansive windows and sunlit rooms, it stood as a sanctuary where the afflicted could find respite and, perhaps, a path to recovery. Waverly Hills Sanatorium was more than a hospital. It was a community unto itself, complete with its own farm, water treatment plant, and staff housing. This self-sufficiency was born out of necessity, as the sanatorium's remote location required it to operate independently. Patients, isolated from the world, forged bonds with one another and the staff, creating a microcosm of society perched on the edge of life and death. The construction of Waverly Hills was a beacon of hope, not just for the patients who sought its care, but for a nation in search of answers. It represented the belief that humanity could triumph over the scourge of tuberculosis, that science and compassion could lead the way out of darkness. As we delve deeper into the story of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, remember this beginning, for it sets the stage for all that follows. From these roots of hope and healing grew tales of despair and haunting. The legacy of Waverly Hills as a place caught between the worlds of the living and the dead. Join me as we explore the halls of this historic institution, where every whisper and shadow tells a story of the past, a past that refuses to be forgotten. In the year 1910, amidst the rolling hills and verdant landscapes of Louisville, Kentucky, the foundation of Waverly Hills Sanatorium was laid, marking the beginning of a new chapter in the battle against the White Plague. Designed with the dual purpose of isolating and treating those afflicted with tuberculosis, Waverly Hills was more than just a medical facility. It was a bastion of hope in an era shadowed by disease and death. Constructed to accommodate the overflow of tuberculosis patients in Jefferson County, Waverly Hills was meticulously designed to adhere to the sanatorium movement's principles. These principles dictated that sunlight, fresh air, and rest were paramount to a patient's recovery. The building itself was an embodiment of these ideals, with its sprawling, open porches, vast windows, and the strategic placement atop a hill to maximize exposure to the healing qualities of fresh air and natural light. The sanatorium's design was a reflection of the optimism of the age, a belief in the curative powers of nature combined with the advancements of medical science. The facility was equipped with state-of-the-art treatment rooms, laboratories, and an operational theater. Yet, for all its advancements and the solace it offered, Waverly Hills was also a place of confinement. The isolation necessary to prevent the spread of the disease meant that patients were cut off from their families and the world outside, their lives suspended in a state of waiting and uncertainty. Within these walls, the daily life of patients was regimented and controlled, governed by the strict routines deemed necessary for their recovery. Days were spent in the pursuit of rest and recuperation, with treatments that ranged from the benign to the extreme. The sanatorium's staff, dedicated to the care of their patients, worked tirelessly to provide comfort and companionship, understanding the importance of hope in the healing process. That, despite the best intentions and efforts of those who operated Waverly Hills, the sanatorium was often overwhelmed by the sheer number of patients and the severity of their conditions. The specter of death was a constant presence, a reminder of tuberculosis's deadly nature. This reality, coupled with the isolation imposed by the disease, imbued the sanatorium with a profound sense of melancholy, a place where moments of joy and despair were inextricably intertwined. The establishment of Waverly Hills Sanatorium in 1910 was a monumental effort to stem the tide of tuberculosis, to offer both treatment and refuge to those in need. But as we delve deeper into its history, we find that the line between solace and confinement, hope and despair, is often blurred. Waverly Hills was a sanctuary for many, but it was also a prison of sorts, a place where the fight for life was waged daily, and where the shadows of those who passed through its doors linger still. Within the imposing walls of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, a world unto itself unfolded, a microcosm where life danced precariously on the edge of the abyss. This chapter delves into the daily existence of those who called the sanatorium home, both the afflicted and their caretakers, exploring the innovative treatments of the air and the sense of community that blossomed in the most unlikely of places. Life at Waverly Hills was governed by the belief that fresh air, sunlight, and rest were paramount to combating tuberculosis. Patients were encouraged to spend their days on the expansive sun porches, wrapped in blankets, breathing in the crisp, feeling air, regardless of the season. These open-air treatments, while harsh in the winter months, were a cornerstone of the sanatorium's approach, rooted in the philosophy that exposure to the elements could purge the body of disease. The treatments, however, extended beyond the passive to the aggressive. The early 20th century was a time of medical experimentation, and Waverly Hills was at the forefront of trying novel procedures. Some of these treatments were as innovative as they were brutal, ranging from pneumothorax, where air was introduced into the pleural space to collapse the infected lung and give it rest, to thoracolplasty, or radical surgery that removed ribs to allow the lungs to contract more fully. These procedures, born out of desperation and hope, were a testament to the sanatorium's commitment to finding a cure, but also highlighted the harrowing journey of its patients. Amidst the routine of treatance and rest, a community took root. Isolated from the world, patients and staff forged bonds that were as deep as they were complex. Celebrations, dances, and movie nights were common. Moments of light in the shadow of terminal prognoses. The sanatorium's own newspaper, written by patients, served as a vital outlet for expression and connection, chronicling life within its walls. The staff, from doctors to nurses to orderlies, played a crucial role in fostering this sense of community. Their dedication went beyond mere medical care. They were confidants, friends, and, at times, surrogate family members to those in their charge. The emotional toll on these caregivers was immense, working day in and day out with the specter of death looming over their patients. Yet, they persevered, driven by a sense of duty and compassion that became the heartbeat of Waverly Hills. The juxtaposition of hope and despair, of innovative treatments, and a grim reality of tuberculosis, shaped the existence within the sanatorium. Life at Waverly Hills was a testament to human resilience, to the capacity for joy and camaraderie in the face of overwhelming odds. As we reflect on the daily lives of those who dwelled within its walls, we are reminded of the indomitable spirit of those who fought valiantly against the White Plague, and of the community that flourished amidst the trials of disease and the certainty of mortality. Beneath the facade of healing and hope that Waverly Hills Sanatorium presented, there lay a more somber reality, a testament to the countless lives claimed by tuberculosis. This chapter takes us into the depths of the sanatorium, down the 500-foot tunnel known ominously as the death tunnel or body chute. This passageway, carved into the earth itself, served a grim purpose. It was the route through which the bodies of the deceased were discreetly removed from the hospital, a measure taken to shield the living patients from the constant reminder of their mortality. The construction of this tunnel was a reflection of the times, a period when the death toll from tuberculosis was so high that the visual impact of seeing coffin after coffin depart from the main exits was deemed too demoralizing for those still fighting for their lives. The tunnel extended from the hospital's basement to the bottom of the hill, where hearses or trains waited in the shadows to transport the departed away from Waverly Hills, often under the cover of night. Walking through the death tunnel today, one is met with an overwhelming sense of isolation and foreboding. The air grows colder as you descend, the light from the entrance fading behind you, leaving only the echo of your footsteps as company. The walls, now touched by decay and the passage of time, seem to whisper with the voices of the past, a chilling reminder of the tunnel's purpose. Imagine the journey of the deceased, taken on wheeled parts down this steep, narrow passage, away from the light, and into the darkness. It's a haunting image, one that underscores the relentless grip tuberculosis had on the lives within Waverly Hills. The death tunnel, in its silence and solemnity, stands as a monument to the end of so many journeys, a stark contrast to the sanatorium's mission of healing and hope. The existence of the body chute also speaks to the psychological battles waged within the sanatorium's walls. The lengths to which the administration went to conceal the reality of death from the patients is a poignant reflection of the era's attitudes toward disease and mortality. It was a time when the line between compassion and denial was blurred, when the need to maintain hope in the face of despair sometimes led to the masking of truths too painful to confront. Today, the death tunnel attracts those drawn to the darker aspects of Waverly Hills history, its chilling legacy a focal point for ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. But beyond the tales of hauntings and specters that are said to roam its length, the tunnel serves as a somber reminder of the human past of tuberculosis, a disease that filled the tunnel with the shadows of those it claimed. As we emerge from the depths of the death tunnel, let us carry with us the weight of its history, a reminder of the fragility of life and the indomitable spirit of those who walked the halls of Waverly Hills Sanatorium in both life and death. As the relentless march of time ushered in the 1960s, the shadow of tuberculosis began to recede from the world, its deadly grip loosened by the advent of antibiotics and improved public health measures. It was during this era of medical advancement that Waverly Hills Sanatorium, once a bastion of hope against the White Plague, found its purpose diminished. The once bustling halls and treatment rooms, filled with the sounds of life and the struggle against disease, fell silent as the need for such a massive tuberculosis hospital waned. Thus, the decision was made to close the doors of Waverly Hills, marking the end of an era. The closure of the sanatorium was not just the turning of a page in the history of medicine. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one shrouded in mystery and spectral whispers. As the building was abandoned, left to contend with the elements and a passage of time, the once grand structure began to decay. Windows shattered, leaving the interior exposed to the ravages of weather. Walls crumbled, and nature began to reclaim the land, wrapping the sanatorium in a cloak of overgrowth. It was within this atmosphere of decay and neglect that tales of hauntings and paranormal sightings began to emerge, as if the sanatorium, in its abandonment, had awakened something unseen. Stories circulated of shadows that moved with purpose through the empty corridors, of voices that echoed in rooms long silent, and of figures seen staring from the broken windows, their gazes fixed on a world they could no longer touch. The sanatorium's past, marked by so much death and suffering, seemed to permeate the very fabric of the building, giving rise to a myriad of ghostly phenomena. The death tunnel, once a discreet passage for the deceased, became a focal point for paranormal investigators, drawn to its chilling history and reports of unexplained sounds and sightings. Room after room, hallway after hallway, the entire structure seemed to be a hotbed of activity, each corner holding a story, each shadow a mystery. The closure of Waverly Hills Sanatorium and its subsequent decay set the stage for a new kind of legacy, one not of healing and hope, but of hauntings and the search for answers in the unknown. Paranormal enthusiasts and skeptics alike are drawn to the site, seeking to uncover the truth behind the tales, or perhaps to experience for themselves the eerie presence that many claim still roams the sanatorium's halls. As we explore the stories of hauntings and sightings that have arisen since the sanatorium's closure, we tread a fine line between the known and the unknowable, between history and legend. The transition from a place of healing to a site of paranormal intrigue is a journey into the heart of darkness, into the depths of the human psyche, and the eternal quest to understand what lies beyond the veil of our reality. In the eerie stillness that envelops Waverly Hills Sanatorium, the past lingers not just in memory, but in presence, manifesting through tales of paranormal activity that chill the soul. This chapter ventures into the heart of these ghostly encounters, sharing accounts of those who have glimpsed beyond the veil, into a world both haunting and haunted. One of the most poignant of these apparitions is that of a little girl, known only through the echoes of her laughter and the fleeting sight of her playing with an invisible ball along the sanatorium's decaying corridors. Witnesses describe her as a specter of innocence amidst the backdrop of despair, her presence a somber reminder of the lives claimed by the disease. Some have heard her voice, a soft whisper in the silence, calling out for her mother, or inviting the living to join in her eternal play. Equally unsettling is the figure of a nurse, seen in the room that once served as the operating theater, where countless desperate battles against tuberculosis were waged. She appears as if frozen in time, her uniform pristine, her expression one of determination and sorrow. Those who have encountered her speak of a palpable sense of grief that accompanies her apparition, as though she bears the weight of all those she could not save. It is said that her spirit remains tethered to the sanatorium, bound by duty and a relentless hope that no more lives will be lost within these walls. Then there are the shadowy figures that haunt the windows of Waverly Hills, their forms glimpsed from afar, silhouetted against the fading light. These apparitions, seen by visitors and investigators alike, stand as silent watchers over the sanatorium, their identities lost to time. Some speculate that they are the spirits of former patients, their souls unable to find peace, forever looking out over the world they left behind. These accounts of paranormal activities and ghost sightings form a tapestry of tragedy and mystery that envelops Waverly Hills. The little girl, the nurse, and the shadowy figures are but a few of the spirits that are said to inhabit the sanatorium, each with their own story, each a fragment of the larger narrative of suffering and hope that defines this place. As we delve deeper into the haunted legacy of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, we confront not just tales of the supernatural, but reflections on life, death, and the indelible mark that human experience leaves on the places we inhabit. The apparitions that roam the sanatorium's halls are reminders of the past, echoes of the emotions and struggles that once permeated these walls. In exploring these ghostly encounters, we peer into the darkness, seeking understanding and perhaps a connection to the spirits that linger in the shadows of Waverly Hills. Within the crumbling walls of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, certain locales have earned a reputation for being nexus points of the supernatural, areas where the veil between our world and the next seems particularly thin. This chapter delves into the heart of darkness, exploring the hot spots of paranormal activity that have both fascinated and terrified visitors for decades. Among these, room 502 and the third-floor corridor stand as pillars of the haunted legacy of Waverly Hills, each with its own chilling tale to tell. Room 502 holds within its confines a story of despair and tragedy. It is said that in the early 1920s, a nurse who worked in the sanatorium was found dead in this room, her life ended by her own hand. The reasons behind her tragic decision are lost to time, shrouded in rumor and speculation. Some say she was pregnant and unwed, her despair over her situation driving her to suicide. Others whisper of darker forces at work, of depression and madness brought on by the overwhelming weight of the disease she fought daily. Visitors to room 502 often report an oppressive atmosphere, a feeling of sorrow that clings to the air like a thick fog. Some have experienced sudden drops in temperature, while others have heard whispers or seen the figure of a woman, hanging in despair, only to vanish when approached. The room, despite its small size, looms large in the lore of Waverly Hills, a tragic stage where the past plays out its sorrowful scene over and over again. The third-floor corridor, in contrast, is known for its frequent spectral encounters, a place where shadows move with purpose, and unseen entities brush past the living. Investigators and guests alike have reported numerous sightings along this stretch, from ghostly figures darting into empty rooms to the sounds of footsteps following close behind, only to disappear when one turns to look. The corridor, with its long, uninterrupted expanse, seems to invite these encounters, as if it were a bridge between realms. One particularly haunting account comes from a group of paranormal investigators who captured what appeared to be the figure of a small child peeking from behind one of the doors, an image that was later corroborated by historical records indicating the death of a young patient in the vicinity. This, among countless other stories, cements the third-floor corridor's reputation as a hot spot of paranormal activity, a place where the echoes of the past are felt most keenly. In exploring these specific hot spots within Waverly Hills, we venture closer to the heart of its haunting allure. Room 502 and the third-floor corridor are but chapters in a larger story of the sanatorium, each bearing witness to the complex tapestry of human emotion and supernatural phenomena that defines this place. As we peel back the layers of history and mystery, we are reminded that every shadow, every whisper carries within it the story of a life, a moment frozen in the spectral embrace of Waverly Hills Sanatorium. In the shadowed halls of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, where history whispers from the peeling walls, a multitude of personal accounts have been gathered, stories that breathe life into the legends and affirm the sanatorium's reputation as a nexus of paranormal activity. This chapter is dedicated to those voices, a collection of experiences from paranormal investigators, visitors, and former staff who have encountered the unexplained within its confines. One paranormal investigator recounts a night spent in room 502, where the heavy air and sense of despair are palpable. As they conducted their vigil, a sudden coldness enveloped the room, and a soft, sorrowful sobbing filled the air. Though no source could be found, the experience left them with an unshakable feeling of empathy for the nurse who met her tragic end, a reminder that the stories of Waverly Hills are rooted in very real human suffering. The visitor tells of a walk down the infamous third-floor corridor, where they felt an unseen hand grasp theirs, fingers intertwining with a cold, ethereal touch. Turning to confront their silent companion, they found only empty air. The experience, both unsettling and profound, stayed with them long after they left the sanatorium, a personal encounter with the unknown that defies explanation. Former staff members, too, have stories to share. One recounts evenings spent working late, when the sounds of unseen footsteps would echo through the empty wards, and doors would close on their own volition. On one such night, they witnessed a ball of light drift down the hallway, moving with purpose, before disappearing into a room known for its paranormal activity. These experiences, occurring in a place once filled with life, underscore the thin veil between the past and present at Waverly Hills. Each account, unique in its details, weaves a common thread of encounters with the unexplained, contributing to the tapestry of Waverly Hills' haunted legacy. These personal narratives, collected from those who have walked its halls, stand as testament to the sanatorium's enduring allure for those seeking answers to the mysteries of the afterlife. The experiences detailed by paranormal investigators, visitors, and former staff at Waverly Hills Sanatorium reinforce its reputation as a hub of paranormal activity. Each story, a piece of the larger puzzle, invites us to consider the possibilities that exist beyond the boundaries of our understanding. As we delve into these personal accounts, we are reminded of the power of place to hold and evoke the energies of the past, making Waverly Hills a beacon for those who pursue the shadows in search of light. As the narrative of Waverly Hills Sanatorium unfolds, a chapter of renewal and preservation emerges from the shadows of its haunted past. This chapter explores the valiant efforts to preserve the sanatorium as a historic site, a task that involves navigating the delicate balance between honoring its dark history and celebrating its cultural significance. In the years following its closure and subsequent decay, Waverly Hills teetered on the brink of oblivion, its once grand structure threatened by neglect and a passage of time. Yet, driven by a recognition of its importance not just as a site of paranormal interest, but as a monument to a pivotal chapter in medical history, efforts were undertaken to save the sanatorium from the clutches of ruin. Preserving Waverly Hills Sanatorium is a challenge steeped in complexity. It is not merely a matter of restoring bricks and mortar. It is about safeguarding a legacy. The building stands as a silent witness to the countless lives touched by tuberculosis, a testament to the human struggle against a merciless disease. Its halls, now silent, once echoed with the hopes and fears of patients and staff alike, making it a repository of stories that span the spectrum of human emotion. The preservation efforts at Waverly Hills are driven by a dedicated group of individuals and organizations who understand the sanatorium's dual significance. They work tirelessly to restore and maintain the structure, ensuring that it remains accessible to those who wish to explore its history, whether they are drawn by an interest in the paranormal or a desire to connect with the past. One of the greatest challenges in preserving Waverly Hills lies in balancing its appeal as a site of ghostly lore with the respect to its historical and cultural importance. tours of the sanatorium, including paranormal investigations, serve as a primary means of funding for restoration projects, attracting visitors from around the globe. Yet, these tours are conducted with a mindfulness of the building's past, striving to educate visitors about the sanatorium's role in the fight against tuberculosis, even as they explore its reputation as one of the most haunted places in America. The efforts to preserve Waverly Hills Sanatorium as a historic site are a testament to the enduring fascination with this iconic structure. It is a journey of restoration that honors the memory of those who passed through its doors, patients, doctors, and nurses alike, by ensuring that their stories remain a part of our collective history. As we consider the preservation of Waverly Hills, we are reminded of the power of places to hold and tell stories, to serve as bridges between the past and present. The sanatorium, in all its eerie grandeur, continues to captivate and intrigue, a historic site that stands at the intersection of history, medicine, and the supernatural, inviting us to explore the depths of the human experience. As we stand at the threshold between the known and the unknown, between history and legend, our journey through the halls of Waverly Hills Sanatorium comes to a close. This final chapter is not an ending, but a moment of reflection on the enduring fascination with a place that has captured the imaginations and fears of many. Waverly Hills, with its haunted legacy and storied past, serves as a mirror, reflecting our deepest fears, our curiosity, and our relentless quest to connect with the past. The sanatorium's allure lies not just in the ghostly tales that echo through its abandoned corridors, but in the human stories that are woven into the very fabric of the building. It is a place where history is palpable, where the struggles, hopes, and tragedies of the past reach out to us, asking to be remembered. Waverly Hills reminds us of our mortality, of the fragility of life, and of the battles fought against diseases that once seemed insurmountable. Our fascination with the sanatorium also speaks to our innate fear of the unknown, of the darkness that lies just beyond the edge of our understanding. Ghost stories and tales of the paranormal tap into this fear, drawing us closer to the mysteries that we are both terrified and compelled to explore. Yet, in this exploration, there is also a search for meaning, for connections to those who came before us, and for answers to questions that linger in the shadows. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, in its haunted legacy, challenges us to contemplate your place in the continuum of history. It is a reminder of the advances we have made in medicine and public health, of the lives saved and lost, and of the human capacity for resilience in the face of despair. The stories of its ghostly inhabitants, whether rooted in fact or fable, encourage us to consider the ways in which the past continues to influence the present, how memories and experiences are etched into the places we inhabit. As we bid farewell to Waverly Hills, we carry with us not just tales of hauntings, but a deeper appreciation for the complexities of human nature. Our journey through the sanatorium reveals our enduring quest to understand the mysteries of life and death, to confront our fears, and to find connections across time. Waverly Hills stands as a testament to this quest, a historic site that bridges the gap between the living and the departed, inviting us to explore the depths of our curiosity and our desire to connect with the history that shapes us. In the silence that follows our departure, the sanatorium remains, a guardian of stories waiting for the next curious soul to venture into its embrace. The legacy of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, with all its shadows and whispers, continues to intrigue, to haunt, and to inspire, a monument to the eternal human fascination with the world beyond the veil. As we conclude our exploration into the chilling realms of haunted tales, we bid farewell to the shadows and specters that have haunted our journey. From the eerie corridors of Leap Castle to the grandeur of the Banff Springs Hotel and the somber halls of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, we've delved into the depths of fear, curiosity, and the unknown. But as our tales come to a close, let us not forget the lessons they impart. Behind every ghostly encounter lies a story of human resilience, of history etched in stone, and of the enduring quest to unravel life's mysteries. As we part ways, may these tales linger in your thoughts, sparking curiosity and contemplation. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, may you continue to explore the realms of the unknown with open minds and courageous hearts. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the haunted corners of the world. Until we meet again, may your nights be peaceful, your dreams be sweet, and may you always find solace in the light that dispels the darkness. This concludes our tale. Farewell, dear listeners, and may you always embrace the mysteries that lie beyond the veil.